Hey everybody, this is Vincent, and today I want to talk about the idea, and it's definitely just an idea, there's not any real data behind this being a possibility, but the idea that Mexico and Greenland could enter into the Union. And there's actually a decent shot, in my opinion, of talks of this happening. I think Greenland is a lot more likely than Mexico is, because I don't think Denmark really wants Greenland. I mean, in 2009, they signed a treaty that said if Greenland ever wanted independence, they could just get it. So I don't think Denmark is really too scared about losing Greenland. So I think, frankly, because of Donald Trump's ambitions and the way he thinks about running the country, I think there's a very high chance of him ending up purchasing Greenland, which could be very interesting. And then Mexico, while I think it's a lot less of a chance, has also been given the same offer that was given to Canada when it comes to, do you want to enter the United States as a state? And I think that'd be very interesting if, for example, Mexico got split up into a few states. But I think Greenland especially is an extremely interesting state, an extremely interesting new territory that could be given to the United States. Even if it didn't become a state on its own, it would become an extremely important spot, kind of like how Guam is with the Chinese. I want to show you guys a quick map. Here I have it, where essentially, if you zoom in, you can see just how close Greenland is to, first of all, Canada. So we'd be able to get to them really easily, because as you can see, Maine is just here. So it's not actually that far away. But more specifically, look at how close they are to Finland, for example. And more importantly and specifically, Russia. You see, right now, the United States has very easy access to Russia's eastern border through Alaska. Although Siberia is not a very populated region of Russia. It's not a very important area, one could say. The northern section of Russia here, while still relatively unpopulated, is a lot more important than that of Siberia, because Siberia has almost nobody in it. This area has at least some people in it, and you could get to more populated areas much more quickly. Also, there is some suspicion that if Putin succeeds in taking over Ukraine, which I think is unlikely, but definitely possible, that he could try and go for Finland and try and claim more territory in the Scandinavian peninsula than he already has. But I'm actually not sure if Russia has anything here. They might. I'm not aware. That might be Lithuania. I'm not sure. But anyway, there's thought they might go for Finland after that. And Greenland is very close to Finland. As of now, if we needed to defend Finland from attack by boat, if we needed to send soldiers for whatever reason, this is a very long trip. We have decent bases in, for example, Annapolis, Maryland. To get from Annapolis, Maryland, to anywhere in Finland would take you an insane amount of time. If we had a base here in Greenland, I'm not sure where this is, or here, for example, one of these spots, it'd be a much less amount of time. And that's what I'm getting at here, is that Greenland, it's not the people in Greenland that matter so much. No, Greenland isn't the most important spot in the world, for sure. And by the way, if you're wondering why Greenland looks so big here, this is one of those maps that shows the span of the world horizontally, but makes some areas look too big. Greenland is not this big. Greenland is this big right here. This is a much more accurate map. Anyway, as I was saying, the people in Greenland are not the important part, albeit they are important people, and they would help to create Greenland as a state if they chose to sell it to the United States. The reason why Greenland is so important is because geopolitically it is much closer to our enemies than we are, and it has a ton of very bombable land. What that basically means is that, I mean, it doesn't sound good, but what that basically means is that there's a lot of area for nuclear weapons testing and things of that nature, which we currently use for Nevada. We currently use Nevada for. And, I mean, you've got to do it somewhere. It's not a pretty thing to do, but you have to do it somewhere. You have to test your weapons somewhere. And Greenland, Alaska, and Nevada are currently the most popular areas to do that in, but Nevada and Alaska have a large population of people, at least relatively so. Greenland only has a population of like 56,000 people, something like that. So I see it being a lot more effective, especially in northern Greenland, where there's like almost nobody up here in northern Greenland. Almost everybody lives down in the south, like in the south. I believe that's the southeast. No, that's the southwest. My bad. But anyway, what I'm getting at is that Greenland strategically is very important. Another very important country, which I was talking about earlier, is Mexico. Mexico is not quite as important to our enemies as Greenland is, although one important thing is I have been saying, not often, but occasionally, that it'd be really nice if we could get the communists out of Cuba. Cuba is a very important island in the Caribbean. It's the largest island in the Caribbean, and it is the only primary island in the Caribbean that I would consider to be part of North America. I frankly think that Puerto Rico is really more of South America's, like these areas are more South American, and then everything out here are obviously not North America. This is the Pacific Islands. So I think that Cuba is the only real North American island, and I think that getting communists out of North America is really important. Venezuela is another important spot that I think getting communists out would be great for the U.S. and for freedom as a whole. But Venezuela is not in North America, and the U.S.'s influence on South America is a lot less than it is in North America for the reason that, you know, we're here and not there. So I guess that's a pretty big part of it. But yeah, I think that if we can get Cuba, that would be swell. I think that if we could get Mexico, it'd be great, because that surrounds the entire Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico is a very important region because a ton of very powerful ports come out of there. Places in Texas that run along here, places in Mexico run along here, in the Yucatan Peninsula, Louisiana, Florida, Alabama. Very important ports like New Orleans and Miami. Not Miami, I'm sorry. Like Orlando, it's a better example. Miami's on the Atlantic. But what I'm getting at is we have a massive area of water around us. North America is huge. And if we can expand to where the United States is not just the United States of this little midsection of North America, but quite literally the whole thing, would be a much, much larger, no pun intended, force to be reckoned with. And granted, I am not saying that there is a good chance of Canada and Mexico coming into the United States. I think that that's unlikely. I do think, however, that it is possible under the right leadership between both parties. I don't think Trump is ever going to get Canada or Mexico to get into the Union. I think that if the old president of Mexico was in power, there might have been a chance. But even then, I don't think so, especially not with the current one. The Greenland people, however, I think that Greenland being bought actually has a decent chance of happening. And frankly, I think that it would be really, really good for our country if any of those three things happened. Like, for example, if we got Canada, like, obviously Canada is not as good for defending our allies in Eastern Europe as Greenland is, but Canada would still be way better than where we are right now. I mean, just look at how good how good Nova Scotia is compared to Maine. Like, that's a sizable jump. Even like this is Canadian right here. A lot of people think this is like Greenland. This is Canadian. And this area, I mean, you can just go over here, like Yapams, it'll fill in, and you can see it's Canadian. All of these islands are Canadian. By the way, guys, I use this website called Yapams for my maps. If you guys want to try it, it's really great. It has American maps. It has maps from almost every country that is in the UN. I don't know if there's any countries that aren't represented in Yapams, but it's a great thing. But yeah, you can see massive amount of various options here. I use this for the world map because it's just easier. But yeah, anyway, back to what I was saying. I think that it'd be great if we could get a hold of Greenland or Canada or Mexico, and especially Cuba. Because here's the thing, right? So, like I just said, Venezuela it'd be awesome to get Venezuela out of South America. Because Venezuela is one of the biggest influences of communism in that area. Venezuela is a lot of the reason why Cuba, as the communists they are still so powerful, is because they can go look at that Titan I guess it's not really a titan, but it's a pretty large nation that is communist. And you can go look at that and say, okay, they're doing pretty well, so we're probably able to keep doing this too. But I think that if Cuba fell, it would have a reverse effect on the Venezuelans. And there might be... Now, I'm not saying that the U.S. has any business taking control of Venezuela. That's my opinion. I don't think we need Venezuela. I do, however, think that there could be a chance of Venezuela having a rebellion within its own borders, like kind of how Syria had, like last week, where a bunch of people who are tired of the regime stand up, take up arms, and throw out the current regime. And whether it's better or worse is up to the people who threw it out. In Syria, I'm not totally confident in the rebels' ability to run the place, but I'm hopeful that it'll go well. In Venezuela, I think it would probably go a little bit better because American influence in Venezuela is a lot more than it is in Syria. I'm actually not even sure where Syria is. Let's see. I thought it was up here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, Syria is right here. As you can see, it shouldn't come as any surprise that Syria does not care so much about what the United States says, given that they're on the other side of the world, but Venezuela takes a little bit more impact from what we say, given that we have Puerto Rico, which is literally right there, compared to the capital city of Venezuela. I'm actually not sure if Caracas is the capital city of Venezuela, but if it is, then I guess that's a major city of Venezuela that is pretty close to Puerto Rico. But anyway, yeah, I know this is going to be a shorter video than most of mine, but yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys what I think about this. You guys have been asking in the comments about in the video about Canada, what if Mexico joined? What if a lot of what if scenarios? And I honestly thought they were really good ideas. I read articles all the time about what could be happening. I'm really into the whole manifest destiny idea, which is to say that we need to get the United States as far and as wide as we possibly can. And I don't agree with the idea that, we need to displace people and all that. I think that's really dumb. Like with the way the United States handled the Native American issues early on in the country's history, like in the early 1800s, that was really poor. Like with the way Andrew Jackson handled it. But generally speaking, I think Manifest Destiny has been a huge boon for our country. I mean, the fact that we have Alaska is huge. Like, Alaska is a direct opposition for Russia. And if the United States and Russia ever went to war, first off, Russia would probably lose because we have way more allies than Russia does. And second off, we'd probably get Siberia from that, because this is probably where a lot of the fighting would be in Siberia. Now, I mean, I might be wrong, but I personally tend to think that Siberia would be an important battleground in that fight, because we have Alaska. And the reason we have Alaska is because we have the Manifest Destiny active, or at least we had it in the 50s, which was when we got Alaska and Hawaii. And we also have tons of other little island chains. But generally speaking, we have the mainland, Alaska, and a whole bunch of islands. And I think if we could expand to actually control the whole rest of the landmass here, in Canada, Mexico, Greenland, and Cuba, I think we'd be doing really, really well. So yeah, that's my take on it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to subscribe, hit the like button, all that stuff. It really helps out the channel. It also helps me to determine what stuff you guys prefer and what stuff you guys don't. So yeah, just tell me what you thought of the video. I'm open to debate. I really enjoy debating with you guys. It's really fun. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching this, and see you next time.